So, hi everybody. The room that you just saw spinning around in your view is in Oxon Hill, Maryland, at the Gaylord National Harbor. I'm actually taking a couple of days of vacation, or as my boss calls it, vacation. I'm down here to go take in a game tomorrow between the Washington Nationals and the my beloved St. Louis Cardinals. So I get a chance to go over to Nationals Park, check it out, and hopefully see the Cardinals put up a W. And my best friend and my son's godfather is here with me, and we'll be heading over to the park together tomorrow evening. So I came down in the evening early, and I actually have a hand to share with you guys because my best friend lives in Baltimore, and I was a few hours early to pick him up, so I stopped in at the Horseshoe in Baltimore. So aside from having restaurants with Guy Fieri, Giada De Laurentiis, and Gordon Ramsay, the Horseshoe, of course, has a poker room too. And I have to admit, the Horseshoe is perhaps one of the best rooms I've ever been in terms of my results. Well, I don't know what it is about Baltimore, but I've really done well at the Horseshoe. And today, fortunately, wasn't as much of an exception. I bought in for 300, cashed out at 492, but it could have been a lot better. And the hand that made it a little worse than it could have been is the hand I'm going to analyze for you guys now. So, this is my last hand before I leave. I am under the gun +2 and playing 1-3, no limit. We are 9-handed. I have about $650 in front of me, and the following hand comes up. I pick up 10-7 of clubs, and it comes to me under the gun +2. The under the gun player has called the 3. This is 1-3. This is obviously not something I think I could do at a higher stakes. But at this table, there was a lot of limping. I was one of the few people doing a lot of pre-flop raising. I wasn't doing a lot of it, but I was generally either raising or folding to come in the pot. But it's 10-7 I took in. And we are 7-handed to a flop of 9 of spades, 7 of hearts, and 7 of spades. So I flop 3 sevens. Good hand. The small blind is a lady who is known to be very tight, and she leads out for $15. Big blind folds, and the under the gun +1 player to my immediate right has been somewhat loose and been active. He decides to call the 15. I have 3 sevens, and I thought about raising, but I figured that this was a situation where I didn't need to worry about raising right away. I could let the hand develop and keep people in, keep some of the draws in. I figure a raise probably knocks out people who aren't drawing much of anything, and the only people who are going to call a raise at that point have real hands. So I want to try to get some dead money in there. At least that's what I was thinking. It might not be right, but that was the way I was going with it. So I called the 15, and one other player called in late position, and we are 4-handed to a turn that is the 10 of diamonds. As a gentleman I know might say, that's rather favorable. So I now have 7s full of 10s, and literally the only thing I'm worried about is somebody having pocket 9s. It's the only thing I don't block. So the small blind checks the turn, and now under the gun +1 leads out for $30. And I'm thinking to myself, it's possible he turned a straight. The one thing I suspect he does not have is a 7 because of his previous activity and the fact that I have one of the 2 7s that's not on the board. So when you bet the turn, I liked my situation a lot, but he didn't have the biggest stack of everyone left. The player behind me, who was still in the hand, had a stack that was pretty close to mine, and the lady in the small blind only had maybe like $150 or so at the start of the hand. So I called the $30, and the late position player folds, and the small blind calls. So at this point, we have a pot that's ballooning pretty quickly. It's in the neighborhood of, it's approaching $200. And the situation is such where I could possibly get both of their stacks, because the lady is definitely calling with a hand, but it's hard to imagine what hand she would have that she wouldn't have raised with. So at some point during the hand. So I put her on spades, probably ace X of spades. And the gentleman in under the gun +1, I'm having trouble really ranging him. I don't know what would he check the flop with and then bet into 2 people. It's hard to imagine he has a 7. Because again, I have one. And the lady, the very tight lady in under the gun bet. But when she checked the turn, I took a 7 out of her range. So I thought about the guy's hand, and I decided that he might have 10-9. He might have turned it straight. He might have the K7 with an 8, and think he's now turned some additional equity with the straight draw. I'm not sure, but the bottom line is I thought about it for about 25 seconds and realized I'm just never folding this hand. I'm just never folding. I mean, how can I? So I decided to call to keep her on the small blinds draws in, and she called, and the river was the 9 of clubs. Not my favorite card, because obviously if somebody has a bare 9, they now have 9s full and have beaten me. But it's hard to imagine somebody in the hand having a 9. The lady in the small blind checks, and now the under the gun +1 player bets $75. So that's the, as Norman Chad would say, the Ushka Ushka moment. Not sure where in the world he got that bet from. But, so now I have to think about it, right? And I just can't really put him on a 9. Unless, I don't know what he would be leading with on the turn into 2 people. And I have to say at this point also it factors into my table image was pretty tight because I hadn't turned over anything but made hands the entire day. Now, obviously, I didn't make every single hand where I dragged the pot, but the vast majority of the hands I was playing, I really did have very strong holdings. And I won every hand I went to showdown in. So I just couldn't imagine what he would have. So I decided to call. And the lady folded, which meant that I think my ranging of her was correct. And the gentleman turned over 9-8 offsuit. So flops top pair on a paired board, turns an open-ended straight draw, which is dead, and he is now drawing, 22-1 to hit on the river, which he does. And, I thought about the hand and wondered if there was anything I could do differently. And maybe, but I think I put him on a pretty reasonable range of hands. And it's just hard to imagine what he has that beats me. So I decided to get up and leave at that point. I was still up about a couple $100 on the session. But that's my hand analysis. So that's the second challenge in the Vlogger in Paradise. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to critique me below, either on my video. Hey Jeff, notice the landscape? Thanks for the pro tip. Still shooting on my little iPhone. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please comment on the hand. Let me know what you didn't like about the analysis, anything I could have done differently. I aim to improve, and I'll see you guys next week.